5
In 3, 2, 1,
and hello everybody, welcome, hi. Very happy to see you on this on today's webinar. We have an amazing guest today. We're going to talk about tremendous stuff because we are going to talk about the best stuff because we were in the land of the great United States last week,
Sure.
which we're going to talk a little bit about today, but also we're going to talk about the one and magnificent guest that we have here, Julien Millet, which is the CEO and COO and founder of United Bits.
Sure.
So, hello, Julien. Very happy to see you.
Hello, good to see you.
You're going to do plenty of accents today.
Yeah, sure. Anyone you want.
Help me.
I can do the French accent
Oh,
very well.
All right. Welcome everyone to that webinar. So the point of today's webinar is going to talk about the AI tooling that can be used in video game production and pre-production, as well as do a little bit of feedback on how GDC went this year, which happened last week. So very quickly before we do that, I'm going to introduce very fast what we do at X&Immersion, so X&Immersion, we do generative AI tooling for video game studios. Our goal is to help studios produce more content, do it better, faster, cheaper, and in a more sustainable way. And we try to do it in kind of an ethical way as well. So yeah, that's what we do. We mostly have tools on text generation, voice generation, and lip synchronization that can get into standard plugins, typically Unity, Unreal, and stuff like that. And we are in the quest to explore kind of all of the AI spectrum and world that is opening up for the video game industry. And in that quest, we are joined today by Julien, who is kind of a veteran for the industry. So as you
Thanks for reminding me.
presented yourself, well, in a good way.
Sure.
You presented yourself when we prepared this webinar as a techno prophet and an AI enthusiast.
Because yeah, that's true. I'm a veteran. I used to start my career during the past century, which is quite old. And I'm a AI engineer diploma like 23 years ago. So I guess for AI, as it is now, which is like very trendy, being an engineer in AI like for 20 years, it's pretty rare.
It's a bit of time.
Yeah, clearly. And yeah, so I've worked in many game studios. I've been following AI progress for all those years very closely. Just to give a quick shortcut, when I didn't do AI for like 20 years, it was because computers like sucked. If you really, clearly, I mean, if I wanted to compute like a model like 20 and some years ago, the model would still be computing right now.
It's the same hardware.
Exactly. You wait 25 years, nothing. So yeah, clearly that clearly changed the direction of what you can do now with AI, and that the reason why I'm really getting back really into it, because honestly, it hasn't changed much in terms of algorithm, in terms of everything I learned at the time. There hasn't been a great change since.
Yeah.
It's just small techniques, but what makes it work now is really the scale, the raw computing power we have. So I've worked on lots of games. I have a background, like, of course, technical, but also mainly as creative director, and also as a, I'd say, businessman, because I created a few studios. invested in some and so on. So yeah, clearly I try to have like a 360 angle on how you make games.
Work with a big name of the industry, so Ubisoft, Nintendo, a little game called Solasta that is made in France that came out a few years ago, which was pretty cool. And a game that came out yesterday.
Yeah, it's true. In my studio, we co-developed one game which is named Forgotten Playland, which was released on the Epic Store. It's like some kind of Mario Party.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
But even better.
What platform? Of course.
PC. That's PC. Because I mean, there are some Web3 elements, so you can't go on Steam. You can't go on other platforms. But the idea was to start that development on Epic Store, and depending how it goes, maybe go on the other platforms.
Okay. Awesome. And so today you have two main hats, which is CEO of United Bits Games, where you are working on a new game called Tail Wars.
Yeah, exactly. It's a game which is kind of a new genre of game. Names is Western Conquest, and the goal is to, like all the players are playing a map where you have lots of tiles, like a civilization tile, and each tile is a mission. And it's really easy. It's 2 kingdoms, dogs and cats. Everyone has like some opinion on that. What's yours?
Cats or dogs. So
if you can have votes, please vote.
Actually, we do have votes. We
cats versus dogs. Who's gonna win?
Give me a second.
Sure.
I think we have a little issue. Yeah, the microphones. Oh, it is good.
It works.
Perfect. So cats versus dogs. You know
cat versus dogs.
To everyone who registered to the webinar, we asked the question cat versus dogs. So I was planning for that.
Cool.
And I think we had a majority of dog users.
Really?
But we can actually do a poll right now in the chat. So if you're watching live, you can say whether you're team cat or team dog. Nice. And we can see.
Do you want a fun fact on that? There's been some studies, and the fact is that people who are more into dogs are more conservative, and people who are more on cats are more liberals.
Yeah, I think you told me about that.
Yeah, it works in the US, it works in France, so let's say it works all around the world. So basically what you have to do is you play on those tiles because there are 2 territories, and so you have that loop within the game where you play PvE, and each time you play the bastion of the other, you win the bastion. Like, okay, there's dog territory, I'm gonna win because I'm a cat. And if you win the bastion, then you switch sides. And then you lay the defenses, you have a boss, and you create the boss, and the next dog who wants to conquer the territory back, he has to play again your defenses. So it's a bit between Helldivers and Orcs Must Die kind of way.
A bit like Foxhole as well.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, Foxhole, exactly. Honestly, that's one of the alone games that use those types of having everyone playing on the same map, but with sides. So exactly, yeah. Great. What knowledge!
That's my
job. Don't you work in the gaming industry?
So the poll was half and half between cats and dogs.
Yeah, thank you. So for the balancing of the game, it's really
exactly 50-50. Stop the count.
Exactly, stop counting, please.
I just realized that our names are backwards. It's fine.
No problem. I'm Julien.
So you're doing that at the time, and you're also the president of Game Only, right?
Yeah, Game Only, the cluster of the video game companies around Lyon. So we have AAA studios like Arcane, like Ubisoft. We have Ivory Tower and Ubisoft Annecy. We also have mid-sized game studios like Artifact Game Studio or Old Scale Games, and many small. We have also like schools, we have services providers, publishers. It's one of the good things of very thriving ecosystem is that we have all kinds of companies. It really helped to have some resilience, because when you have some, I'd say, difficult tides, like the one we have currently, it's really good to works among your peers and to can have that help discussions and sometimes just have a hand from the other game studios. Because I mean, we're in the same industry, but we're not, let's say, competitors, which is what you have in lots of other industry. But the good thing with creative industry, like we have more of helping survive each other.
Yeah. That's something I say actually regularly. Since video game studios are rarely in direct competition with one another, because even if you have almost the exact same game, if you are released 6 months later, well, then potentially you're not in competition anymore because everyone that finished that.
Yeah.
That's a bit different for live service games, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like supermarkets. Like you have different supermarkets, you fight for the same people. It's more aggressive.
Yeah.
Here we are, so like, okay, you have your customers, I have mine. I'm not going. I mean, it's not direct tapping to the others. It's like you can play both games.
Absolutely. Well, time is limited, but it's a big game.
Yeah. We hate social networks, for instance. This is the true enemy.
Well, I have a strong opinion on that. So the main topic for today is how you used AI tooling for the pre-production of games.
Sure.
So when we were preparing that call, you told me you were using AI for a lot of different things in pre-production. To me about art, about game development, game design, development, pretty much everything.
Yeah, pretty much everything.
Can you do a bit of an overview of everything that you've used, the tools?
Because my vision is that it's really a great help for how you produce things. Because for now, I'd say tools are start to be with a little intelligence. So you can really start to build things and to help you get more production done. Because it's really about, for now, AI is really about understanding patterns in how people do things and then help you. So everything that's really based on repetitions going to be easy to automate in a way. So my goal was really to understand what were the parts in production where we could automate things. So basically, for instance, for art, we wanted to be able to have fastest iterations. And let's just give an example about how we use those tools. I remember once in the game, because it's TP I wanted you to have a drone around you. As typically the kind of ideas I have at 1 o'clock in the morning. And I said, clearly. And because I'm a night owl, so basically I have many ideas just at the moment I should sleep anyway. I think, okay, that sounds like a good idea. And the next morning, I just had the morning meeting and I just asked for the game designer to stay and the art director. So I discussed about how I see the things, how it could work. And while we were discussing about that, our art director was able to make a few iterations. Because the thing is, as she used a lot prompting to create many, I'd say, concepts, she already had many keywords and things to, kind of know what to produce. So she was able to create the base of the robot for the drone for in half an hour. We had something. Then it was okay. Let's use Chat 3D, which is a tool to help you get from image to picture.
Made in France.
Made in France, in the region of France. Oh, that's one of our members of Game Only.
Nice.
Go on chat3d.ai and try by yourself. And
quick shout out to Felix.
Hi, Felix. And yes, so we use that. So we had that drone in 2 minutes. Then I sent the drone to the art because we have an amazing tech artist, and so we just asked him to make a real mesh out of it. I mean, to kind of do the few adjustments. It just took him something like an hour to have the bot working. and it was integrated in the engine right after. So basically, the overall thing was done like in the morning.
That's fast.
Yeah, I mean, that's really fast. The way it works usually is, okay, you say, I have an idea, then you start to discuss with the game designer, just discuss about all the features, then you make a concept art. Because the thing is, when you're making some concepts, you have to get some back and forth between the art and the game design. Because concept gonna say, oh, where do I go exactly? They start to do some small things. Like I have several proposals, maybe 5 directions, and then you have those iterations that take really a long time of communication. Here, we were able to say, oh, maybe he should have 2 rockets below to be able to throttle wherever it was, and stuff like that. And then she came up with all the things in the prompt, and still managed to have something that fits our style, because we have several keywords to help us really get into the style. And with that, we were able to have that. So instead of several days of concept art back and forth, it was done. And then it's also about 3D generation, just to be able to have it from the 2D image. It was lightning fast, and then used within the engine. Honestly, the crazy thing about those tools is I remember honestly the first time I used Chat 3D, I think it was a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was it's kind of useful, but not that much. And with all the different algorithms that went out, the improvement of the quality is crazy.
Yeah.
And it's from one generation to the next, it really changes from, it's from unuseful to totally blasting. And with the progresses I see is that, at most in 1 to 2 years, we're going to be able to use such tools in production.
Mm.
Because it's nearly production ready. We just have one artist to change stuff for an hour and it's done. So we have most of the chain ready. So this is for the art. For the development, of course, it's really helpful. I guess that most of the developers know how to use Copilot and stuff.
Obviously.
I love to use that to prototype quickly some gameplay ideas. For instance, if you want doors that just lower, if you get near, you just ask for that. It's gonna be dirty, of course, but you can play test and say, okay, that kind of works. It's cool. And also, you start to have companies that can learn from your code base. And this is something that starts to be a thing. So basically, you have better quality of code.
And so actually I have a question about that, because I've used automated tools to do coding as well, where the added value that I see on that is not finding the right algorithmic to answer a problem, but to actually transform that algorithmic into a functional code. Usually when I use AI to develop, to do a chunk of code, I know exactly what are the inputs I want, the outputs I want, and everything that happens in between. But I can't be bothered to write everything down, to do the first pass, then to debug it, and to retry a few different stuff. Usually that's my best use case. And for me, that part is, and I think it's similar with the art, is the least added value part of the creation process.
Yeah, for the code, what is interesting is to be able to write down the code fast. It's never good when you use, if you rely too much on that. The problem is once you start to really write a bit of code, it does not have enough context, does not understand well enough what he's doing. So there are several issues with that. It's first, there are lots of unsaid things that the developer are going to have in his mind about how it can go wrong within the code that won't be generated. So you know that the code that is generated is not as forethought as it would have been developed by a human. Because basically, a good programmer gonna be able to, I'd say, formulate his thoughts in some kind of more complex way. Because there are lots of small issues you can have in your code that AI won't be able to foresee. It's going to make a good base, but the problem is that how you build up onto that. Once you start to have some software architecture that you need, it's not good at that. Frequently, you really need to provide the right prompt about what kind of design patterns you want, about, all the kind of the meta of your job. If you understand, that's the same way you would brief a very junior that can do things in so many wrong ways. So you have to think about all the errors he's able to do. And my brief is really bad. I ask him just to do the thing, and he does not know the right design pattern. He does not know what are the exceptions. He doesn't know how to handle properly the exceptions. All those, and usually the code you have is just more about things you want to test. And the true problem is, once you've started to automate that, it's how do you get back the control on the code? Because when you write your code, you know where you're going to go wrong. When you generate the code, sometimes it's not really obvious about where you're going to go wrong. So you have a limit to that, which is, of course, due to the very nature of LLMs. Because LLMs are not developers. It's statistical inferences. The generation process is kind of dumb because they don't have that common knowledge of the underlying reasons about why it should work. Because it's not like a construct thought about the design it should have within the software. It's really about, this is the words that he asked. Literally, so that's the words the guy said for my task, and he used that alone context to try to, guess and it's not just guess. Kind of predict. It's try to get his thought, because it's not very smart. Because what we do is we have a lot of, iterative process in our minds. We can have lots of deductive thoughts. Like, for instance, you know that the brother of your father is your uncle. And you can build up into those kind of top-down knowledge. And the thing is, in LLMs, they don't have top-down knowledge. It's purely bottom-up. They cram lots of data. It went through the LLM to make it learn. And then they have no clue about what they're doing besides the context in which they are. So you have the brief, you have the instructions, and then you try to guess what the guy asked, which is the kind of mean, the average of all the people who have somehow the same question. And of course, there is some smart pattern matching that is ingrained inside the neural network, but you have that limit about not having a constructive thoughts. It's kind of what they wanted to do with the reasoning within the LLMs, where they break it down in several steps. But the problem is that it's still the same problem, because each, thought that provide is also asked to an LLM that have no clue what is trying to guess. It's always getting back to something more abstract, but it's not like a very top-down knowledge. So it gets better at some point to try to better guess the context, because we use some tools to help them get that kind of meta knowledge. But it's really like a pain.
And also we are working towards the fashionable term for that is agentic models, which are having a reasoning and working step after step to do some actions and to have kind of human-like ways of thinking, which is a human-like thinking the most efficient one? I don't know. Should AI have the same? It's an even bigger question. But what you said is interesting. Not having a big top-down knowledge means that in the end, when you are only entering a very specific detail, like creation on the base level, you're going to have coherence problem at some point, because if you're asking something that should be in the same mind as everything but is completely different, then you're going to lose some coherence and some logic within the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I mean, because the problem with agentic approach is that it still is reasoning on some LLM. So basically, if 2% of the time is wrong, if agents discuss between each other and you have like 100 discussions, if your fail rate is like 2%, you're going to have a 30% rate of success. Because at some point you're going to, I mean, it's 0.90 power like 100. So of course it drops.
Yeah.
And the more, exactly, you're going to start to have hallucinations and stuff. And we know how big the problem of hallucination is. And
then you can fix it with AI.
I mean, this is really the next, I think, step we're going to have. It's more like having some kind of composite AI. That's a big research field right now, composite AI. That you have some bottom-up elements with the LLMs, but you also have some more, I'd say, top-down approach with other way of constructing some strong knowledge. And the problem also you have is that the LLM do not have like a feedback loop with the real world. Because that's the main problem, is that the way it reasons is only within the, I'd say, space of the modelization of the words. So it's just, they don't know the map. I mean, they only know the map, they don't know the territory. It's like Google Streets. I mean, it's not because you have Google Street that it knows the world. It's exactly the problem you have with LLM. You have very good like Google Street, but you haven't created a world. And the problem is, as long as you're not able to interact with that knowledge, it's become very, I'd say, fixed. And you can't have like better understanding. So what we need is some kind of abstract knowledge, like which create codes, write that codes, try to evaluate the code, and see if it's a good code or not. And if it's not, have a way to have that feedback loop between, okay, this is the question, this is what I'm going to do. And this is more like we call action models. This is the thing that are coming like in several next years. Because once we're gonna like really lower the cost of inferences within the LLM, we're gonna be able to have those feedback loops really easily. Because, okay, I need to do like I don't know, maybe 100 billions of queries with an LLM to be able to improve its way of coding. So, okay, then you're going to have, because it's going to write code, you're going to test the code, and then get that feedback loop. Once you have that, of course, you're going to have better coding agencies. And this is something that we might have like in the next 5 years. It's going to get better.
But, well, hopefully it's only going to get better. Is training data getting better? That's a different question.
I mean, if they're able to do the code, to test the code, they're going to see if they're making good code or not.
So we talked about art, so iterating very quickly, prototyping very quickly on IDs and implementing them very quickly. A little bit on code writing. You also talked about game design. And that's very interesting.
Of course. I mean, there are really lots of things which are interesting about that. First thing is you can have some kind of assistant. What I do usually most of the day is I talk way too much to ChatGPT. He's my best friend.
Have you talked to Le Chat?
Not yet.
Oh, you should. Le Chat is actually apart from the laundry
accident.
The laundry accident. It's very good.
Yeah, I've heard so. I mean, I was lucky to participate to an AI hackathon organized by Mistral, which was really interesting. And they had good results. It's true. I mean, this is one of the topics we were discussing before it, like about AI sovereignty and stuff like that. And it's really important to try to investigate because I think that the delta we have between all the models are being reduced.
It's shrinking very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, because really for me, that's the explanation behind it. It's because LLM are kind of closed on the data they have. I mean, they gather data and they start to try to have something intelligent. They all have the same approach. If they all have the same data, the same approach, you won't have much difference. Of course, there are some small optimization that makes things better than one another, but not that. That's a big difference, you know.
Is it the LLMs that are getting closer and closer to each other, or is it the evolution of LLMs which is slowing down? Like in the S curve, are we reaching the top of the S curve? And
I think so. I mean, we're reaching the top of the curve for this approach.
Interesting.
Because it's just about
Yeah.
statistical inferences on a huge amount of data. And so what you can have, I mean, as long as it's not linked to some reality, that it's able to interact with the reality and check if it works or not, and to do all those experimentation, it's a closed space. Because I mean, if you take within the brain, the area we have within the brain for the language, which is it's Broca and Wernicke. It's a small thing, I mean, within the brain. It's like that, it's something that's in the middle of the brain, and it's language and symbolic thinking, and it's just a small thing. And we have so much been dedicated to that space that we forgot about everything else that's within the brain. Because if you take just to give some kind of evaluation of that, the most powerful computers right now have the ability to simulate like the brain of a dog. A dog, that's not much. It's not really smart. But it's for LLM, for instance, you just use language. It's like if you use the dog can't move, it just can't talk, and that's the only and text input. Like nothing else. So that's why it's kind of strange, because it seems really intelligent.
Yeah.
But it's not more than the brain size of a dog. Within 10 years, we're going to be able to have computers that have the same brain, the same raw computing capacities as a human brain. And if you look at all the things we do, like kind of naturally, like getting a glass to drink or whatever, and using tools. I mean, if you look at animals within the animal reign, how many animals use tools?
Almost none.
Almost none. Just the smarter animal, the smartest between
and,
all of them.
And have to be taught.
Yeah,
to use those tools.
Exactly, because using tools is not easy. So we look at robots and we say, oh, they're not using tools. But what you're talking about is one of the most intelligent things they can have, like grabbing objects, using them for something else. What you want to do is really a lot harder than it seems. Because I mean, the visual cortex within the brain, it's very big. Just behind your eyes, it's really big. And the thing is, once we're going to reach that ability to recreate or reconstruct space the way the brain does, then we're going to have robots that are going to be able to move within the world, interact with the world, all those things. So that's why we have for now very small inputs. I mean, what's the size of context? It's so nothing compared to the size of a brain is. It's crazy.
It's an interesting way to compare the context of an AI, of a prompt, and an action that the human brains, that the human brain uses for any action that we do. And one thing is using tools, but an even bigger one is inventing tools. And we've been doing that for a long time.
Yeah, true.
And that's another level of knowledge. Well, not knowledge, but computing, let's say. But
so for game design, for game design, because we're getting back.
We're diverging.
No, because it's neat. It's the thing you can ask to those LLMs is something that is really small and only talking about data they found online. So the way I use it is I provide those data. I talk to ChatGPT about what I want, and then I just make a summary. So I ask to make a summary, like I have a game design idea. I'm talking about the game design, and I ask him to generate like the documentation. If I'm not sure, I'm gonna ask for other games that have those kind of mechanisms. I'm gonna ask to challenge those mechanisms. And the thing also that, at first it seemed like incredible because you say, oh, I can do so many things. But what you also need to understand is that every time you're going to ask a question, you're going to have an answer. And that's a bad thing. Because if you challenge my stuff, so what they're going to do is provide any point of data to challenge your thoughts. And there is no moment where you're going to stop and say, oh, this is the perfect idea. That's not the moment I won't answer anymore. And you can say, you want some challenge? Okay. So the thing you're going to do is you're going to oscillate between several point of views.
Yeah.
Like, let's say you have your gray drawing, and you say, oh, can you challenge it? So at one point, you're going to say, oh, maybe you should make it more white. Okay, you put some more white, and then challenge it to me. But some other game developers, they want it more black, so you add a bit more black, so it's becoming gray again. So that's not, that's because you're just on this, you asking for some challenge, so you're going to have a back and forth. So once you understand that AI gonna I'd say satisfy your question.
You're never going to have the it's close enough.
It's perfect.
Keep it like that.
Exactly. Yeah. You will never have that. So it's nice to understand for some challenges, but at some point you need to understand how the thing works, because it's very dumb. Honestly, an LLM is really dumb. It's really not as smart as it seems. It's like only primary consciousness. It's not thinking about itself. It's really very literate. It's there are some limits to it, and the way the LLM express themselves make them sound really smart. So they have, honestly, there are some gold nuggets. Sometimes you find, oh, that's so true, but you have to make your own mind, because the design ideas you're going to find sometimes are really average, but they can really help you as an assistant to help you make your game. And that's where I find the solution really interesting, because for game design, you ask for challenges. Sometimes I just put all the data of the documentation within a PDF, and I say, okay, find me some inconsistencies, which is really hard, because when you work on design, sometimes you have some archived stuff that you don't want to have in the documentation anymore, that are outdated and stuff like that. So you can ask just to make a check, and they're really good at that. Because the great thing with LLM is that they're not processing things in a linear way. Yeah. Because when you're reading some documentation as a human being, you're going to read them in a linear way. Okay, you're going to go through all your documentation, and finding some inconsistencies is really something we can't. Which is really painful for humans to do. And with an LLM, you can ask to check for those, because what they do is they take all your content, they're going to project it onto their, inner map, and that's how they're going to see some stuff that are not within the same space as they should, and say, oh, this is an inconsistency. So it's a different way to process the information. So for that, they're really good at finding those types of inconsistencies.
Do you have an example of game mechanic that you added or changed where ChatGPT had a very big impact? Like an idea where you figured and said, oh, that's actually pretty smart.
Well, let's take an example. I asked for several, in the game we have several classes, and I asked for, because I have some hunches about what I wanted to have, but it was not clear for me where exactly I wanted to go. And the way I usually work is very iterative. Like, okay, please provide me a list of 7, 8 classes, and I read them and say, oh, that worked, that not work within the game. Let's check with 1, 2, 3. Do you know other games that do that also with those classes? And strange gameplay. And it's really more like a talk. It's rarely like, oh, please me provide an idea. Oh, amazing. It's rarely how it works. I'm using it really for creative direction, and using it as like someone who knows too many games. Because I used to have in some of my previous companies, sometimes always someone was like the Wikipedia of gaming. The guys say, those kind of mechanics we want to make. I don't know any other game who can do that. And they say, oh, Foxhole.
I know a game in 1982.
Exactly.
That was doing this and that.
On PC Engine. What? Okay. And sometimes that's really that. It's really a lot more like that. But also the problem you have with ChatGPT is that it's very kind of always the same type of information is provided. Like very structured. It's you can see it because I've started to work too much with AI, and at some point, when I see some chapters and I know that they are AI generated, I don't read them anymore. It's like, okay, it's blank shit, and you start to have much more noise. Yeah, because before, as it was cheap to it was expensive to create words. Like, take someone who's paid to type, and to think and then to type. It's expensive. Now you provide an idea, you have a very good long text. So it's cool. But the problem is that you still now have that cost of reading. Before it was the cost of writing, which was too expensive. Now it's the cost of reading.
Yeah.
And you skim through the content and you say, oh, fuck me. You ask a designer to make a game, you can like write a Bible of 100 pages. And you know, it's like for when you're asking for subvention, grants. Now, you know, all the people who just read grants, they, oh, fuck me, one more ChatGPT generated apply.
What's my goal for that is to train an AI on all of the previous grant file that we did, and then use that to do the next one. So it's still our material.
Yeah, no, that's true. And honestly, I use that a lot because I use some kind of RAG capacities that you have now in ChatGPT. You take all the PDFs of the stuff you have, and then you need to write down and say, tell me what your company doing in 200 words. And say, I have the 10 words version, I have a 500 words version, but the 200 words, I don't have it. So you ask it, it's providing the fucking story because you're just kind of crazy with the thing. So it's really helpful in that way.
So I do want to kind of wrap this part on two things that we discussed. So all of that is, and actually that's more an interesting part on the dynamic within a studio, which is what are the new ways of creating a game and a pipeline. And to kind of push that a little bit further, you've said something very smart when we prepared this webinar, which is the time that you win in production, you lose in exploration.
Just to explain a bit more the thought, because even when you told that to me, I kind of said, what? So it's really smart when you said, I say, what did I say?
What did I mean by that?
Yeah, exactly. What did I mean? No, because the thing is, because it's so fast to iterate now, when, for instance, we were looking for the art direction, we could test like 10 to 15 art directions, which usually you just test 1, 2, you're doing some mood boards, you say, oh, more like that, but you know, because it costs a lot to change. So basically you just say, okay, we have to go into that direction. And when you start in some direction, you just kind of dig that direction again and again.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of costless to make a hole. So you start to make hole wherever you want. So it's like, okay, let's go in that direction. And you just push it, you generate the character, the backgrounds, the style, the whatever. I say, that feels really good. I remember last night at 1 o'clock, I had an idea. Let's test that new art direction. And the problem with that is, you want to explore a lot more because you can try some very stupid things for not that. I mean, it's kind of cheap. So it's more like, it's kind of the modern world where you have like working with someone in one direction is like Louis Vuitton. And working with AI is like going on Alibaba. You have, I have you have 1,000 euros and you go to Chanel, you say, okay, I'm going to buy one bag if I can. If you're 1,000 and you go to Alibaba, you say, I'm going to buy the whole world. And that's kind of the thing, you're going to do some crappy thing, but you can test 1,000 of them. And no. And the thing is, when the thing is good thing, when the thing is bad thing, is really something still that you need to incorporate. And you say, okay, I have that many directions I can test, but I still need to find the right one. And this is where you can use a lot of time in exploration because it's so easy to test lots of things. That's more ideas. Are the ideas more valuable? That's another question.
And what does it change within the team?
What does it change? You need to have a stronger vision because usually, if for instance you can draw with just one style, once you have chosen like an art director that can only go through that style, that's the style of your game. Mm-hmm. Now that you can have a lot more choices, you have to, I'd say, force yourself not to lose too much time in exploration. Because feel like you're doing something.
Yeah.
It's like, social
Because it's moving
networks.
so fast.
Yeah, it's like social networks, scroll. And in the end, okay, I saw like 1,000 reels. Was that interesting? And and that's kind of the same feeling. Things go so fast that at some point you say, okay, between watching a movie and 1,000 reels, she's like, it's 2 hours. I think it's kind of the same thing. It's okay. I have this ability to process that much information, but yeah, that's really.
I really like that comparison. It's very interesting. And very quickly, to get to the final artistic direction for Tail Wars, did it take about the same time as it did for you in other games? Or did it go faster or slower, or is it comparable?
We worked in a very different way.
Okay.
I'd say that we explored things. I mean, the game in itself is like really an exploration. It took us a very long time to get to the game design we're at now, because we really wanted to invent some kind of a new genre. So we needed to explore lots of ideas.
Okay. So
and that's where we lost a lot of time. It was not on the design of the overall mechanics. It was more on understanding the core dynamics that you have, which were really complicated.
I see.
But nonetheless, the way we work now, I think, is very different, because I think that you can give some independence to lots of people. For instance, the way I plan the production is that we're going to have some LoRa's. Just to explain quickly what is a LoRa. It's something you add up to some image generation, and you kind of select a subset of images that you can have designed.
And it generating.
Yeah, exactly. So the science. So you can, for instance, say this is going to be the art style we want for the enemies. This is going to be the art style we want for the turrets. And you can have several subsets of that. And once the game designer says, oh, but maybe I want to have a turret that is going to throw lasers, you're going to be able directly to generate the LoRa's, cool. Something that was really interesting, without, I say, requiring then they generate something. You just have the art director say, oh, that's nice. And then you can incorporate it within the game.
I see. So it's really different mechanic of building a game. And I would really love to keep talking about that for hours because it's so interesting. But I do want to do a little bit of feedback on GDC because we were there last week. And it was, I think it was good. It's always a fun time to be in the US, of course, to be in San Francisco. So what were your feedback on that? You were a little bit more somber than I was.
Oh, clearly I'm a dark person. No, I'm optimistic in the short term. There's not nowadays. I think that with the evolution of AI, we have very strong questions. I'm currently working on an impact study of AI within the gaming industry for Game Only. I'm working on that, on the jobs of the gaming industry.
Oh,
yeah.
I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, sure. You don't want to talk about that.
But we'll talk about that later.
So my idea there was to check after people working on AI, checking what are the new trends. If there are some, I'd say, surprising things I wouldn't have in my radar. And I was kind of reassured that I didn't miss a big trend or whatever. My feedback is that there are not that many people who have a clear vision of the future coming.
Yeah.
It's very short term. For instance, I went to a conference. They were talking about how AI is transforming the way people are starting to work and say, but that was the entry level jobs that are really threatened. How will we be able to have junior getting into the industry?
And training by doing mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of things.
To become experts.
And I just ask a simple question in the end is I explained some of the time frame, like we are a dog, 10 years, we're going to be at the human level. So my question was all the things we talked about during this roundtable, what's going to still be relevant in 5 years? Because the problem is that they're discovering AI. I mean, it's pretty normal.
Yeah.
It's a breakthrough technology. It's a technology that like we have never seen in the history of mankind. That it's not like, okay, going to create some new jobs because some people going to be whatever influencers, things we have like with the new media or stuff. It's more like, okay, the new jobs that it might create going to be so AI oriented that you're going to only have like a few techs. But with a few people, you're going to be able to change the whole scope of some jobs that are going to nearly disappear. And in 5 years from now, I think that there are jobs that are deeply threatened.
Yeah.
So in some of my conclusions, I was like, okay, we're going to have like a big shift. And the only reassuring thing I have for people is like, yeah, but it's not just gaming, it's the whole society. And yeah, I mean, it's something we're going to need to handle. And it's not just something specific to game. And yeah, that's going to be a huge shift in our civilization and to a depth that is really hard to understand.
Yeah.
I was really lucky because I read some material like 25 years ago. So I was really into this question, like, oh, what the fuck's the future going to be? And the thing I learned, I say, okay, we're at the end. Because at the time, the most powerful computer had the brain size of an ant, which is really not crazy. But I was really about this question. When I see things like moving the way it's now to how fast it's changing things, it's okay. It's going to be like a big fucking mess. And that's why I went to GDC with that spectacular mindset, very positive. Like, okay, this is going to be the end of the world in 10 years. How do people prepare to that? And I was like, okay, we're going to have big shifts. And of course, there are a few, I'd say, short-term signals, which are kind of cooler, like all the money we had post-COVID is starting to, the good and bad, the hangover effect we had starts to wane, but slowly we start to have contracts coming back. Some publishers made some successes, or they want to make new content. So there are good signs. I don't know on your side what you think, but...
Well, it's interesting. So obviously, I have to agree with you on a few things. AI is changing a lot of things, but I've seen some interesting weak signals. So obviously, the strong signal of GDC was AI is going to change everything. So there were 27 AI-related conferences, which is a lot more than the previous year, and also the way people were talking about it was different. A year ago, people were saying, "Oh, yeah, it's interesting. Maybe we're going to use it at some point." This year, everybody told me, "We're using AI. We want to use more AI.
Yeah.
What are yours doing, and how much does it cost?"
Yeah.
Which is something completely different, which is amazing for us. But like it's a dynamic shift on that. So I think it's great. Yeah. Also, I had the weak signals of the industry is slowly getting out of its crisis, like putting its head out of the water. Yeah. There are a few things that triggered that for me. The first one is in publishers and investors are kind of ready to make deals again, which they were not talking about 6 months ago. Like they were saying maybe next year. And now they have a vision. They know they have to do some deals within the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months max, because if they don't, they're going to be in serious troubles. So that's like hearing that is interesting. And also, when you're in a crisis, one of the first things you remove from your cost is consulting, where you say, well, we are going to focus on everything that makes money for us, and we are not going to focus on optimizing our processes or what we do or how can we do it better. And I've been hearing a lot of companies saying, well, we are looking for some consultant to help us on X, Y, and Z, especially AI, because it's moving so fast and you have to be so knowledgeable to be efficient in that regard. But having people say, well, we are open to hiring consultants again. That means that you have a little bit more money, and you know it's not the exact core of your business, but it's sufficiently close that you can afford that amount of costs again.
Yeah.
So that's kind of really interesting. Also, something that is weird at GDC, everybody there told me there were less people than last year. And when I checked the number, it was about similar. But something very interesting happened is on the expo floor, there were a lot more companies that exposed because, yeah, I know, it's weird. The reason for that is all of the big players, Unity, Unreal, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, were absent.
Yeah, true.
So nobody had the very big booth that took a lot of space and attracted a lot of people. So all of those were smaller spaces. So a lot more companies.
Yeah.
So more people, but less visitors, kind of. So yeah, it was interesting. For me, it was less crowded than last year. Maybe it's a little bit different in terms of organization and how people were moving around and where I had my meetings as well.
Yeah.
It was livable, which is fine. Like, it was not empty at all. Like, it was filled with people, but it was not overly overcrowded.
Yeah,
which was pretty cool. Yeah, and for us it was very good year at GDC, and it's not going to be at Moscone. Well, maybe not in San
Francisco next year.
I haven't seen any official communication regarding that yet.
I mean, they have 1 year to find where.
Well, usually they announce the date and the.
But they haven't yet.
They haven't yet.
But I mean, because honestly, the information is pretty simple. They have a lease that ended this year.
Yeah.
So now that's the time for negotiations. I've heard about Austin, which could be nice. And yeah, so I gotta see.
Austin is pretty cool. I was there just before. It was
nice.
pretty cool. But so we're reaching the end of this webinar. If you have any questions, we can take a few questions and have a few minutes to discuss about them. While you guys are asking questions, let me talk to you about that. So right before, just before that question, right before GDC, I was at South by Southwest in Austin. And South by Southwest has always been a kind of the big expo center in Austin, which is going to be under construction for the next 3 years. So they don't know where they are going to be next year and the coming years. So is it going to be Austin? I don't know. Well, everybody is suggesting that the center is going to be under construction. Maybe actually GDC took the spot for South by Southwest. I don't know. Just making conjecture.
Maybe they share the space.
Would it be cool to have it in, like, I don't know, Montreal?
Wow.
Ooh.
I would be surprised. No, I think if they changed, going to be more going to the East Coast.
Going to the East Coast, you think?
Yeah, I think.
Like New York, something like that?
Everybody would love.
I mean, for just like that would be awesome.
Exactly.
So, someone asked, what was the most exciting project you worked for?
You or me?
You.
You're the most exciting. Honestly, the answer is going to be very weird. The project I like to work on the most was Imagine Young Doctor. Imagine Young Doctor. It's a game for little girls. And what made the project really so crazy? It was a systemic game. So you're a doctor and you try to cure patients.
Which one was that?
It was on DS. It was like, wow. 2009, I think, something like that. We were working for Ubisoft, and the team was so great. That's honestly one of my best memory, because there was so much pressure in the game, because we really needed to show something to Ubisoft. It was a systemic game, so at the very end, there is nothing that worked. And that's the great thing with systemic games. Like, you don't have anything to show until it fully works. So the thing, like, we had to deliver the alpha version, And we had like nearly finished, which means you have nothing in the game. And they were like crazy at Ubisoft, like, what the fuck are you showing to us? There's nothing that works. But don't worry, that's your systems. Look, we have all the production of art and stuff. And we went to that big meeting. It was really an hour about, where the fuck are you? It was really for the end of the fiscal for Ubisoft. So you have to deliver it at the right date. And you have penalties if you don't release it in time. It was like really awful. So the good thing is that it worked like crazy, because once we had the system, everything worked like crazy. We went to do some, and honestly, we made some play tests, and that's one thing we really loved. We made something very strange when I say what we did. We made some playtests, which means we were behind tinted glasses watching small girls playing. Yeah, hey, creepy.
That's a bit weird.
Yeah, that's weird. But that's really interesting. The thing is, you see how player reacts to your game. Yeah. And honestly, that's a great feeling, because they're unfiltered. Like, oh, it's boring. What? Hey, please read the instructions. I'm 7. I don't know how to read. Fuck me. There's all those things, like, okay, we have to change some things. Oh, fuck me. And that honestly, usually the publishing team tell the development team that, oh, there are so many things you need to change. You say, oh, no worries, kid's gonna get it. And you get into the playtest and you see those girls, it's so easy. We just put you an arrow. You need to click on the fucking arrow. But you can't talk. You're behind your fucking tinted glass and you say, but honestly, that was great, because the team was amazing. We had a great time working on the game. In the end, the game was my best success, millions of copies sold. And so that was cool. And that's projects I liked. I mean, I was really surprised, because I'm a core gamer. So if I had known when I started to work in this industry, that's the game I would have enjoyed the most to develop with that one, I would be surprised. So yeah, it really depends on the people who work with more than the game you're doing.
Awesome. That's a really funny story. I'm going to ask you a question that is a little bit going back on topic, because we talked about using AI for production. How do you look at those tools being used in production? Especially because there's a topic we have not touched on, but that is very important, which is IP rights.
Yeah.
So we have already gone over time, so we're going to do very quick.
To go really fast, because that's an amazing question. My point of view that many people just don't ask themselves the wrong question about, because you can't trademark what's being generated by AI. I'd say that let's say you can't, unless someone is really intervening, doing something on the picture, you can't.
We'll talk about that.
Okay. Anyway,
you haven't watched the first webinar.
Oh, sorry about that. No, honestly, okay. But anyway, the thing is, 95% of your job is just making trees, chairs, tables. That's the most of your production, and you don't give a damn if the thing is trademarked or not. I mean, if someone wants to print some T-shirt with a chair I have in my game, just go for it. Honestly, I don't really need to to have some rights on that. But basically, take that 95% of the production is not concerned by these questions. And people focus and say, oh, for your main character, if it's fully generated, you can trademark it. Okay, but design your main character, I think that's something you should really get a grip on and not just give it to the AI. So I think that for most of the boring production shit, sorry for the word.
It's too late now.
It's live. You just don't care about those copyright thing. Because if the models are properly designed, what you generate is not infringing copyright.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the main issue. But once databases are clean and you have, I'd say, this thing you can use without being concerned by that, then you really start to be able to use those. And so, that's my question, my answer.
Interesting. All right. I see questions going on, but I think we're already over time, so I think we're going to be wrapping this up. So thank you everyone and I'm running out of battery, so that's perfect. So thank you everyone for watching. You can follow us on LinkedIn. You have both of our profiles there.
Yeah, if there are some questions you really want to ask and you want my view on that, just send the question on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to answer.
Oh, all right. Well, now you know. You can get Julien on LinkedIn. You check regularly?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Julien, for all of the discussion.
My pleasure.
It was amazing. I really loved it. And yeah.
Have a good day, everyone.
Yeah.
Cheers. Bye.
See you.
Cheers.
Bye, everyone.